Thank you for tuning in to another episode of The Girl Dad Show. I am very excited to be sharing with you the launch of season 5 of The Girl Dad Show. I cannot believe it has been 4 amazing years of doing this show, interviewing amazing entrepreneurial parents and talking to them about what it takes to be a good parent and also a successful business person. And it's very, very exciting to head into season 5 here and get back into it. As always, we take a little bit of a break right before we launch again for the new season. And our show launches on Father's Day. So, without further ado, happy Father's Day to all the dads out there. Today's a very special episode for me because I want to share with you a little bit about season 5 and some of the things that I've learned in the last 4 years of doing this show. Also, what I plan on doing in season 5 and kind of changing it up a little bit like I do every year. And also just talking about some of the things that I have been thinking about as it relates to being a father, not only in this day and age, but also in the future, and the kind of many stages that I think fatherhood has taken over the last, many, many decades, and kind of where I think I want to take my role as a dad in the future. And so let's jump right into it. So first and foremost, thank you again for being a listener and supporter of the Girl Dad Show. I'm super excited to be launching season 5 with y'all on Father's Day. And the main difference between all the other seasons is that we're kind of going back to season 1 roots, where we're going to go back to doing weekly shows again. And so I'm going to really focus on getting a lot more interviews done. And so it'll be back to a weekly podcast, and we're going to be interviewing very, very successful people that are also parents. And so that's kind of the new thesis. And I mean, it's been kind of forming in that direction over the last 4 years. And I've been testing a lot of things. But I will say the thing that really motivates me and I learn from is people that have navigated a lot of trials and tribulations to get successful, because typically it takes quite a bit of effort to get there, and really talking to those people about what it takes to be at that level while also being a parent. And you hear so many of these wonderful stories of compromise and sacrifice and overcoming of challenges that really help me give me perspective in my life, in my journey of being a good parent and also a successful business owner. So that's kind of where I'm heading towards in season 5, and it's interviewing more and more people so I can get a higher frequency of interviews going in, less of the monologues and talks, and really focusing in on learning how people that have walked 100 feet in my path, or even 1,000 feet in my path, have done it, and learning from them. And so if you know anybody with outsized success, that have overcome really great trials and tribulations and successes and good, that are also parents, I'd love to talk to them. So if you know anybody, please message me on social or DM me and email me. Go to my website and email me. I'd love to meet them and see if I can interview them and learn from them. And that's about it for season 5. I think that's really the main focus, is to go to a weekly show and really hyper focus on people that have navigated really big ups and downs to become very, very successful while also navigating parenthood. And so that's kind of my goal. And I'm hoping that it's interesting to you, and it's something that's something that you want, and I hope you enjoy it. And as always, feel free to let me know what you think, as I'm always curious to hear from you. The other thing that I want to share with you in season 5 is that this season is going to be really about meeting a lot of new people. Up until season 4, I've met quite a few new people, and I've also incorporated a lot of my friends and family. And I think moving forward, I'm going to really focus on just new people and trying to find people that I've never met before. And I just kind of think back over the last 4 years on what it is that I really love about the show and what really makes me excited about it. And these are kind of the things that make me excited about it. Outside success, overcoming trials and tribulations, and people that I get to meet for the first time and learn about. And so would love your help. And if you know anybody that fits the mold for these things, please let me know. As it relates to fatherhood, I think a lot about just kind of the times and changes that parenting has gone through over the last like 50 or 60 years, from the traditional family set, where the dad would go to work and the mom would stay at home. And with the invention of an advancement of technology, and obviously there's a lot of political stuff that happened with the war as well too. But we had an evening of the workforce, and where we now have commonplace both parents in the workforce, and things are a lot more equitable and shared, both in the workforce, but also in the parenting. And we've learned a lot more about psychology, and we know a lot more about human emotions, and we have a lot more higher standards of living, and allowing us to think more carefully about being better parents and better humans. And I think that has allowed fathers to really step up to the front and be a lot more attentive and present. And I think that that's a fascinating trend that is happening over the last 10 or 15 years. And I continue to see that. I foresee that continuing to happen. And I think that it's really important, because I think that as the world evolves, and the world continues to change, we need to have more of these conversations to understand how we're changing with it and what we're learning from it. And also, how we present ourselves to our kids. And I think that if you don't talk about it and you don't open your mind to learning new mindsets and perspectives, you can accidentally get stuck in the same motion. And that's something that isn't terrible. Obviously, it's not the worst thing in the world to be just like your parents, but I feel like, given how much the world is evolving, and it's even evolving faster than it may have even in the last 30 years, I do feel like it's even more important that we talk about it, and we share these thoughts. Because for me, when I think about being a dad, I think about it, not just being, the father figure and provider and protector. I also see a dad as being a friend, a mentor, and someone that can really um, guide and champion, courage and determination and grit. There's a lot of times where I look at my wife, and it could be just us, but she's much more nurturing by nature, whereas I'm a little less nurturing, or I handle just a little bit less. And I'm not necessarily sure if that's, just us, or if it's normal, but I believe it is fairly stereotypical for the mom and dad to be like that. But I think what's interesting about the dads being more present in the life, if that is the case, is that there's one aspect of feeling safe, and having a parent that's nurturing and patient and empathetic. But there's also, that style of parenting where you don't know what you can achieve unless someone pushes you. And you really don't know how hard you can be pushed, because, and a lot of times it's not kind. But if you really do love someone, you need to be able to push them, and encourage them and coach them and challenge them and help them rise to the occasion. And I think that there's a lot more of that, from me than my wife. And so when I think about like the future of where we're going and how things are headed, I think that the kids are going to get more evolved faster than they ever have in previous generations. I feel like they're going to be more aware of more things, even more so than now. I just feel like there's so much information out there, and now as they grow up, they're going to see the world not only with this plethora and prolific amount of content and information at their fingertips. They're potentially going to have really powerful AI tools to intermix their livelihood with. And it's just a very interesting concept. And the only thing I can think about as I think about being a dad in this day and age, and what I think about in the future, is not trying to protect them from everything, and not trying to understand where the world is going, and guide them into the right area. Or like my parents really wanted me to be an engineer or lawyer, because they saw those professions as safe when they first immigrated over here. I think that it's not like that, right? It's like there's almost nobody that can really tell what's going to happen in the future, and I really don't think anybody that says that they do. Excuse me, sorry about that. I don't think anybody that says that they do understand what's happening in the future is really accurate, or even feels 100% confident about it. I feel like there's so much unknown, and the thing that is known is that you want to be able to challenge them to rise to the occasion, and you want to be able to nurture them and be empathetic, so they know that if they fail, or if they have questions or they're scared, they can always come back. And I think that's a really, really delicate balance, and it's far beyond just being an attentive, parent. I think it's being an evolved parent. And I think that as more and more dads become more attentive and brought to the front of parenting, I think it's going to be really interesting for me and also other dads to be a part of that ecosystem. And I think it's going to take a lot of concerted effort and energy. So for me, what I'm really focusing on is building that relationship with them so that they know when I challenge them or I push them, they know it comes from a place of love. And I really want them to understand value props, right? So when they come to these things that are unknown, it's not so much that I've taught them how to handle the situation, but it's more that I've taught them how to make the decisions based on the information that they're given. Because there's no way that I'm going to be able to understand what's going to happen to them in the future. But what I can do is try to be there for them and be approachable so that they can reach out to me, but also know that they can come to me if they need to be pushed or challenged and motivated, simultaneously just teaching them core values so they have good decision matrices. But that's really what I'm thinking about, and that's what I kind of think dadhood is, and that's what I think fatherhood is. And especially for me, as my kids are now getting into the age where I'm slowly starting to move from coolest thing since sliced bread, now my oldest is starting to question how cool I am. And so I think that we're headed into this direction where, I may be not as cool, but I'm really interested in seeing, how I can be a different type of father for them. And, I think the dad that I was the last, 8 years was good for what it was, right? I think I did a decent job, and I'm pretty proud of the decisions that I made given the circumstances that I had. And I've been very, very intentional about like what I'm trying to do and what I'm doing. But the biggest thing that I've realized over the last couple of years is that they will never do what you tell them to do, or you can't tell them what good is and expect them to be good or great. You have to actually role model it. And inevitably, if you want them to be good or great humans, you have to do your best to start role modeling what that looks like. And it's super, super hard and super annoying because it's really hard to be a good human. And being that role model is so important because as they start to form their thoughts, and you ask them to do things or you tell them to do things, I should say, they'll come back and whip back at you and say, well, you do these things. And so which way is it? And inevitably you realize that they're watching everything and now they're able to speak upon it. And so this concept of fairness and morality is much more present. And although you obviously can enforce it, I don't want to be, the tell do stage anymore, right? I feel like that's only gonna, disenfranchise me from my daughter's mindsets if I keep doing that. I think I need to evolve into the next stage, which is more, you know, um, coaching and conversing, but also just really doing doing the hard work of looking inside and figuring out my faults and breaking some of the habits of my parents and that I have inherited, and really trying my best to not ping to the opposite side because I love my parents and I think they did a great job for what they had and the circumstances they were given. But I do believe that I'm much better off than they are. And I do believe that given those situations and given the status that I have that my parents worked so hard to give me, I feel like I need to do a better job of evolving and being more aware and there for my girls. And so that's kind of where my brain is at. And then as it relates to the future of dadhood, I think it's really like attentiveness and attention. And I don't just mean attention and quantity of time, although that is also really important. I mean it more in the sense of quality of time. And even more than the quality of time, I think it's also really about being aware of like what you are doing. So how do I say this? It's like it's not even just about being attentive, right? So you can be attentive to what they're talking about, like their problems at school or the drama they have with their friends or this and this and that, right? And you can listen intently, but it's also about being adaptive and aware of your role in their life, right? Because I think that it goes back to the success criteria that everyone says. It's very cliche, but everyone says, success as a parent is when your kids come back to you when they're older, right? And they want to come visit. And that's what success is, and you hear that quite a bit. But I think in it to do that, you have to evolve with them, and you have to change your parenting style in these stages with them as they're developing. But we're a little bit unique in the sense that simultaneously there is a lot of things changing in the world, and I think that that's something that we have to take into consideration and just think about, right? Like how social media made a lot of people lonely and depressed. I think that AI will have certain ramifications as well, both good and bad, right? And I think it's our job to really think through those things and try to be aware. So it's beyond being attentive, it's about being aware and flexible. But I think it's also going to be around just really back to the core values, sticking to the core values and not trying to solve all the problems for them, but working your best to give them the values that you want them to use to help them make decisions. And so that's really what I think fatherhood is and where I think it's headed, well, at least for me anyway. So I know it's a little bit more dramatic than the normal show, so I apologize. I still am a very happy-go-lucky guy, and I'm very excited about being a dad, and I'm super stoked to show you guys season 5. We have some killer guests already lined up, and I have so many ready to go on the schedule, and I can't wait for you to hear these amazing success stories and that have really like navigated so much trials and tribulations to create the success that they want while they're raising their kids. And yeah, I'm excited to go for another season. So, without further ado, I'm going to wrap it up. So, it's a short episode, this one, but it's essentially the launch episode. We're back, guys. Season 5. It's going to be weekly. Please subscribe. Please write a review. Please share with other parents out there. Your reviews help so much. So, I really, really appreciate a 5-star review so I can keep this podcast going. And would really, really appreciate any shares that you can, and look forward to having another great season with you guys. Happy Father's Day to all the dads out there. Please give your dad a hug. I read somewhere that Father's Day is like the 13th most popular holiday in the year. And I just wanted to call that out and say, make sure that you give your dad and your fathers out there really big hugs and high fives, and tell them that they're awesome. They're going to love it. So happy Father's Day, y'all. And we will talk soon. Bye.